they going to show us here?
All right, guys. Well, boys.
Thank you very much. It is an absolute pleasure to be home, and my heart swells with pride to see the crowd here. Of course, I am Mitch Leslie, joined of how these two teams are looking. A lot of teams You've seen the 2006 Football World Cup. You know the Italian team are pretty good at diving, and it's a great time to be running dive comps here at ZP. We expect a lot of aggression coming straight out of the gates from both sides.
Absolutely, although one thing the Italian team should keep in mind, there are no refs to save them. So
League to a degree. We're going to be seeing 4 maps in this.
this
teams in that Italian region. There's a lot of experience on this Italian roster. Can't affect especially concern. But Australia has 6 players, all from the same team. I was obviously part of the committee in helping select this team. We definitely thought it would be best to go with this roster who's been together for so long and knows each other's ins and outs very well.
Well, they've been through the trenches too. This is not the first time they've competed together in a live event. Of course, a long time. So for them, this is just another day where now they get to perform in front of their fans.
And that's an absolutely huge boon for them as well. Australia's just esports events and exactly how rowdy we like to get. But now we're going to be heading in here. In the red, it's going to be Australia on the attack, and it'll be the Italian squad to defend to start things off here on Kings Road.
And what you're going to be seeing from this Italian squad is that they are also running a dive defense. So what comes out here with the dive defense, Mitch? This is where the defense is going to try and cut the offense off, take the initiative, and not let the offense engage how they want. It is back and forth with both teams deciding how do you get the best positioning to start the fight.
Hey, look, this is going to be probably the least aggressive of dive comps that we sort of see right now. It's a very standard 2-2-2. You have a Tracer and a Soldier 76 here. And Link on that Soldier is probably going to try and use high ground to his advantage as much as possible. Fighter, a lot of onus on him to protect his backline and keep his supports fighting fit.
And this is where it can be wars between divas, because on the opposite side, when we take a look at Australia, as they come in on their attack, what are you going to be seeing? Seeing Kiki move up and try and suppress Link, while also keeping in mind his own backline. Divas have to make key choices and how to defend their team and oppress the other side.
One of the hardest roles to play right now in Overwatch, but Kiki and Fighter should be up to the challenge here.
Looking to go right in, and there they have it. Trill diving right in. Plenty of cleave damage coming in, hitting multiple.
But Australia aren't done yet.
Australia right now is just pushing them back. They know they have the advantage, and what do they do with that? Get players on the objective, and if
him with 5 players, there's no other. Not what he can do with that. So far, and Italy, they haven't had a kill yet.
from downtown, but they don't really buy that much time. But what they do here, Mitch, is that they feed Australia ultimate charge, and that can be
to move it forward. The rest of Australia are getting aggressive, trying to chase some kills just to whittle Italy down, and most importantly, stagger their respawn so the Italians struggle to have 6 players up at any one time.
They are, and there is one rare. But right now, this fight is already being engaged. Australia looking for this early poke, and this is about to get real.
The Transcendence being used in over this fight here by Nisa. Italy want to get aggressive here, but they're struggling. The Pulse Bomb lands on Bims perfectly, and now it's going to be a responsive Transcendence from Australia. They're running over the top of Italy right now. The Thunder from down under is hurting. Lightning may just strike twice in this particular case, as Italy are yet to get a kill.
Australia is making the hometown fans really happy right now, Mitch, because they are just rolling right on through. And that was great from Gunba. Saw the Transcendence comes in, uses a Transcendence of his own, lets Australia keep the momentum going forward. And Mitch, you take a look at this next fight. Atar very well might be having some people in his sights.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Bims has that sound barrier. That's going to be very crucial. The timing will be the most important part of that. Trill has a primal rage, though, so it's going to be hard to get past the big front line of Australia, but Italy are going in.
Italy is going in, and Atar, the attack visor is up. He's looking for targets into the back. You see the Tracer into the backline here for Australia, but it's more even than expected. Even with the sound barrier, Australia pushed back a bit by Italy, but now Italy very much poked down. They have to give up ground, but this is where they can't. It's just 1 meter away from getting into second.
Yeah, and Italy aren't done yet. They've got to keep trying to contest this one now. We can see Trill find Sarah's primal rage. The fists are swinging, and he removes him from the fight. We've been sitting on with Atar for most of this fight, and you can see the fighter was desuited so early on in the piece that he was able to have so much freedom to work and get the damage done with the heavy pulse rifle.
And what we're seeing here, Mitch, is that Australia has great mechanical play. Italy, even when they have fights that might be more even, they're not able to get the first kills in the way you need to win a fight here in Overwatch, so they've been on the back foot this entire time.
Self-destruct coming in from Italy, one of the 2 ultimates they have available right now. It doesn't find anything. The Australians break line of sight with the payloads. A little bit of a back and forth, and the Transcendence is going to come in for Nisa.
Transcendence is in for Italy. This is the one way that they can push back into Australia, but Australia, they just back out. It's a beautiful disengage, and now they can come back in, and what a pulse bomb coming in from I Eat Up, and that is brilliance. Australia now moving right in.
Perfect start and a brilliant start to the fight now. RQT even getting involved. The boops are really doing damage. I think he knocked Fighter off the edge into the little hole there near the side room. Australia are barreling forward. 4 minutes and 15 are on the clock, and Atar's ready to hit another tack visor.
Mitch, this is a brilliant start here for Australia. This is a blazingly fast time on Kings Row. Kings Row, yeah, teams can go in, and look at that. Every fight starting out with a pick for Australia. Atar, tack visor in, and he is leaning up.
And you can see desperately Fighter's trying to use the defense matrix to cut this damage down, but he can't be everywhere at once. Atar finds 2 with a tactical visor. Fighter gets desuited after the fact, and now we're into stall. It's desperation. Carnifex throws himself at the payload, but he's blown up almost immediately. And there it is. A strong start from the Australians. 3 minutes and 48 seconds remain. And that's a brilliant time to kick things off here in Sydney.
Mitch, that was surgical. Australia, we know that they're a good team from what they've done before, but they came out guns blazing here and put Italy down in the worst possible way. When you take a look at this from Italy, now it's just, how do you have an offense as fast as what Australia just put on the board?
It can be done. And Kings Row is the kind of map where we've seen attacking teams have a lot of success. If you can, like you mentioned earlier on, ZP, build up a little bit of a snowball, win the first fight convincingly, get a lot of good ultimate percentage on your side, and exacerbate that advantage further to get a lot of extra ground. But Australia looking very solid. We notice, I think, the first kill for Italy came in front of the Foundry, in front of that second checkpoint. So for the most part of that round, they were struggling to even get enough damage down to focus the targets they needed to. And with that much freedom, Australia was just more than happy to run riot.
The other thing that I think was really hurting Italy there is that when you look at the DPS players from Australia, you look at the Tracer and Soldier play coming in, both of them were able to get early pickoffs here in multiple fights, and regardless of what the ultimate situation might be, if the rest of your team has to open up 5v6 because, say, Carnifex goes in and gets picked off, that's a tough job for Italy to recover from here. So I'll just note for Italy is that, particularly in their flankers, they have to be careful to keep them alive, and have the ultimates all go in at the same time, because it was a little bit disorganized.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Italy, in terms of how they use their ultimate economy, they only really had maybe a maximum of 2 ultimates up at any one time because they didn't have the freedom, the liberty to actually sit on them and accrue more of an ultimate advantage. Australia were forcing a lot of ultimates out. We often saw Nisa being forced to Transcendence and come forward. Australia, in that last phase, actually disengaged really nicely when the Transcendence became a factor. So Italy now needs to be surgical here. And IE2up is going to have to be a main target because he was causing so many problems in that first half.
All right, well, we'll get to see what Australia has on defense here, Mitch, but the offense of Italy is underway, and we have a Genji sighting. We're going to see just what Link can do on this Robot Ninja.
You can see Australia always nowhere to be seen on the point. They've backed away, get a little bit of information early to make those proper decisions later on, the informed decisions. Atar went very low to the poke of Link. He needs to heal up quickly, and Australia are going to be ready to get aggressive on this defense.
What Australia knows here is that they can give up a little bit of ground, but that is big. It's a nice pickup coming from Nisa. Gets Atar out of the fight, and for once, Italy moving in with a 6v5, and they are taking good advantage here, Mitch. This could be a rough start here for Australia as Italy is striking right back.
This is a very good start. They've pretty much gone straight towards the point, and this very simple approach is working very well. Link gets up on that high ground and gun, but not much he could do about that. Was trying to use his biotic grenade from the higher ground, but Australia have to cede this first point immediately.
And now, this is where Australia might be getting a taste of their own medicine. We saw them go in the second last time, Mitch, with all sorts of momentum. Now, we'll see if they can do, on the Italy side, what Australia did just a moment ago. So, this is Italy's window to even the score.
I note that Australia are being very careful about how far forward they push away from the Foundry here. We can't even see them on screen right now because they're sitting so far back. Fighter, just checking for flankers here. He knows that IE2up probably wants to work around the left side. He wants to try and shut him down with a nice little pulse rocket. But again, Helix rocket, should I say. We're going to sit back on the streets now. We're going to roll on.
And now, one thing to note here is that Italy does not have quite the ultimate advantage Australia did when they were in the same situation, but Carnifex is one to watch here. He has the pulse bomb up. We'll see if he can go to the back line and open things up. Australia, they're going to deep dive in here, Mitch, and it is even here, 5v5.
Trill dropped down and got the pulse bomb thrown on him straight away now, and you can see Link just trying to take cover behind the payload. A lot of damage coming, but he's used his block, backing away. The pulse bomb dropped at his feet there like a little present. That's not the one you want to pick up, but Australia are now re-establishing over this payload. Link eventually falls to itch you up there, and it was the start from Trill just dropping on down. He got pulse bombs, but he managed to create a lot of space.
He did create space, and that's the thing for Winston is that you can dive in, and sometimes you will give up your life for doing so. But if you can create space and do damage to the backline, you create the opportunity for the rest of your team to come in and really make the most of that opportunity, and that's what we saw coming out there from Australia.
You can see IE2 up here looking for a bit of information and pushing forward. It's actually a little bit far away from their spawn right now, so you can buy a lot of time to Australia, but look, here comes the sound barrier.
Sound barrier's coming in, and here comes Dragonblade right to the back. Link looking for targets into the back, has to deflect, getting utterly stymied for most of this here. Does get Atar towards the end, but he's getting knocked right back. Nice primal rage from Trill here to create space and keep Australia safe from that Dragonblade.
Oh, Link is very low. He has to be careful. He's playing a dangerous game. Nisa fell earlier on here, and Bim's just going to go down on the payload. Australia are sticking together, and they managed to survive with Nisa coming in with the Transcendence, and they managed to weather the storm. Again, IE2 up is cleaning up.
And here's the key thing here, Mitch. Italy invested a lot into that fight in terms of ultimates, and they did not come up with anything. How big is that now for Australia in buying time for their defense?
I mean, this is the part of the map, ZP, for attackers where they should be snowballing forward and actually using an early ultimate advantage. They don't have that now. They can be stumped.
They can, and now for Australia, we'll see if they have it in them to hold here on second. Italy coming back in on the attack, looking aggressive, but there it is, Mitch. Defensive pulse bomb ruins Italy once more.
And the fight is absolutely over. Bims didn't have a sound barrier, but Italy needed all hands on deck to try and break the hold that Australia have right now. You can see Ceres is concerned about being pursued. He actually dropped down his shield just in case Ichuap was going to get some easy free damage on him as he fled.
All right, well, Italy, another take coming up here. They are back to 6, but that pulse bomb doing its work. The problem here, Mitch, is that they're going to be looking right into the iris. Australia can engage with the Transcendence, and now this fight is underway. Both Winstons poking each other, and Ultimate should be soon to follow.
You can see Australia are backing up a little bit on this Primal Rage here. They're going to force Ceres to be on his own in amongst the entirety of Australia. You can see this Primal Rage is not being utilised that much. Self-destruct comes in. Italy need to be quick on their feet right now, and they managed to avoid it. Link working off the side, waiting for his next Dragon Blade.
But again, I eat you up into the back. Finds Bims immediately. No pulse bomb required. The Discord Orb marking his target on Australia. Now picking Italy apart, rolling in, getting the targets they need, and this defense is looking remarkably solid right now.
It's the pink bouncer. Kiki is going to sit in the way, and Link is not going to get any further along. And Australia themselves have not been using ultimates. They've been managing to win these fights in very vanilla fashion. Now they have 4 ready to go. Italy with only 1 or 2, perhaps 3, with Nisa getting his Transcendence here. This needs to be a very expensive fight for Italy.
Yes, it does. And for Italy coming in here, it's if they use both Transcendence and Dragon Blade and get nothing, and Australia's able to use their ultimates and just even it out, that's going to be very bad for Italy. This is their window to bring things in, even if they're at disadvantage. The Sci-fi comes in, the Transcendence out for Italy, and this fight is underway.
Both support ults have been used by Italy here. They're digging deep in their pockets to try and find an advantage, but so far they haven't found it. ATAR waiting till late in the fight to go for the tactical buys. Genji trying to get up towards him. Card effects. It was Link, in fact, that found him eventually, but they've lost Nisa in the process.
This is still looking better for Italy than before. Their flankers able to strike blood into the backline. They are moving in. They're keeping this more even than it has been. Link under hot pursuit. No, not going to be able to get away from the Winston there in Australia. Digging deep, holding strong, and they're going to be throwing back Italy again. Only 8 minute 20 left in the match here.
Fighter may well get staggered if he doesn't get away in time. He's going to be chased down. He's dropping in. He's the cleaning crew. And Fighter takes himself down. That's what happens if you use a Helix rocket at close range here. Fighter is going to be the author of his own demise here. But Italy are on the precipice. They have 1 ultimate to work with here. They have a minute left. Australia have shown that they can fight vanilla fights without ultimates very well. It's do or die now for the Italians.
It absolutely is, and this is where I look to their Winston player and Ceres. Can he create disruption in the back line to give them the opportunity to move in here? There's not as much in terms of ultimates for either side, so there is an opportunity. Both sides poking out, and Ceres goes in.
That's it. The Primer H here just going to scatter the Australians a little bit. Let's see if they can hold under the heat. RQT gets the damage. Great burst on towards Ceres, of course. The Discord orb was there, but it's traded out. Gumba goes down now. Australia trying to use the high ground as much as possible. Sound barrier now, as they've lost Trill in this fight. They're 4 versus 6.
Ceres might have died, but it was a valiant sacrifice. It gave Link space to work with here, but now it is still even. Australia fighting tooth and nail. Late Dragon Blade out here from Link, looking to be the savior. Fighter following up. They break it down, and Italy not out of it just yet, Mitch. They are able to break through. Link with the final 2 Dragon Blade kills, and Italy with a chance to complete this map yet.
And you see Link there in that fight. Didn't actually get a lot of kills as soon as he pulled the Dragon Blade out, but ATAR, all of his mental bandwidth was committed to trying to deal with the Genji. That Fighter, sitting in the backline for Italy, was able to get free damage and have a lot of space without being harassed by the enemy DPS.
And let's not forget Ceres' role in that too. He went Primal Rage, and yes, he died early, but he drew a lot of fire. That gave Link the opportunity he needed. Now the next fight is underway. Fighter, Tac Visor out. Move looking for targets. Supported by the Transcendence, and is able to strike blood. Gets a support kill to the back. Helix Rocket not going to strike, and you still see Trill making space for Australia.
But look at the aggression. Australia actually lost Gumba in that fight, but they still want to come forward. They believe that they can do it, and they are. Nisa and Bibbs are going down early. Both supports taken out of the fight. There's no healing for Italy. There's no staying power on this payload after they've lost those crucial players. And again, it's ATAR at E2 up all over the kill feed as the fight gets cleaned up.
Cleanup is ATAR's middle name right now for me, Mitch, here, where it's like, do you need a job done right? Throw in ATAR. He's going to be just striking through the enemy team when you have an advantage. He has been great in making Australia win fights decisively after they get that early pick.
You can see Trill was sitting off to the side just then waiting for his chance to jump in and try and scatter Italy to the 4 wins. Pulse Bomb dropped down there, but no effect here. It seems to have been eaten or missed. Now the self-destruct going to come in over the top of Kiki. What can he find with it? He finds Ceres. That's a huge pick off now. Italy are missing their Winston. It's all going wrong for them. It's catastrophic, and now they're going to be cut down once again.
The front line goes down, and that is it. Australia able to get the cleanup. Last 15 seconds left here, Mitch. It is now in question whether or not Italy can even get back onto the payload. They do have some options, so if they are. Link, Dragon Blade is at the ready, but if you're going into 2 support nodes, that's a rough draw.
Now, Trill gets chunked down fairly early on with the Discord now as well. Italy do make it back to the payload here, but they need to now win the fight, and they can't. They took so much damage even just getting their ZP, but now, by the time they made it, they're broken, bleeding, and bruised, and it's going badly for them.
Only 3 members of Italy left up. The odds could not be more against them. The Dragon Blade out from Link, but he is not able to get anything. The support ultimates stymieing him, and there it is again. ATAR with the cleanup. How fitting is that, Mitch, to end this game and give Australia their first map victory here in the Overwatch World Cup 2017.
Good opening indeed for the Australian squad here. It looked like it could go either way. At the beginning there, their first point hold wasn't exactly dominant, but that is a matter that we see quite often on this particular map. We actually have a couple of replays to, or at least one to just illustrate some of these factors here, which we'll have a look at in just a moment. But again, let's go back towards that last part of the map, ZP. The second Streets phase and in the Foundry when Italy got there, it seemed like even when they had an ultimate advantage, or at least something to work with, it still wasn't enough.
No, and the reason why it wasn't enough in many of those cases that Australia was so strong on base mechanical play that what did you see? You saw players like ATAR, you saw players like I Eat You Up, getting kills, no ultimates required before Italy could really engage. And we talked a little bit beforehand about dive defenses and how they come in. And what we saw from Australia is that they were simply out-engaging Italy at key moments, and they didn't let Italy get the coordinated engages with their ultimates that they might otherwise try to get.
It's actually a fairly well-known fact, if you're into stats in Overwatch, that ultimate economy or ultimate advantage in teamfights actually matters a lot less than getting the first kill.
Yes.
Even if you operate at having less ultimates than the enemy team, more often than not, if your team gets that first kill in the fight, you'll come out on top. And this is ATAR as well. This is obviously when the Australian team had pushed very deep. And notice that Fighter is still alive. He stays alive the entire fight, but he can't protect his whole team from the damage that's coming at them. Australia are focusing targets down very well. And ATAR's track visor was just the icing on the cake.
It was, and the key thing there for Australia is that they were putting so much pressure on Italy that ATAR in a lot of those fights, plenty of room to work with. And we see over and over again in Overwatch that you can't let a good soldier player have that much space. You need to pressure him in one form or another. Yes, it's a complicated exchange where you want to protect your backline, but when you have a player like ATAR doing that much from his own back, at some point, you have to take the initiative and put the pressure back on the other team. Otherwise, you're going to see what you saw there where ATAR had his own personal shooting gallery.
So the main concern for Italy in this particular match is was generally what happened in that first half. They obviously set things up for themselves, and maybe not all there under their control, but they put themselves in a difficult position. They had a huge time that they would have had to beat. We saw almost no kills coming out from them at the start. I mean, if you look over that ZP, what do you think your main issues were from the Italian side? Where can we see improvements just to try and deal with this aggression and this coordination that Australia is bringing?
Well, sometimes you will see teams hold a little bit back and go, look, we know that the other team's flankers are going in really deeply. Maybe you hold back a bit, set a trap, look for I eat you up, and deal with him when he dives in.
Now, our second map of this 4-map series will be Control, and Nepal is the selection. In fact, I do believe we have almost all of our Control maps in the pool here. Could be Ilios as well, which is something we don't see a lot of at all. But ZP, Nepal is generally a pretty comfortable map for a lot of people, and here's a fun fact. Both of these two teams were amongst the best in their regions when triple tank was the status quo, which was what everyone played, right? And this is one particular map and some of the stages on this map where you could actually justifiably try something like that out. You can bring Reinhardt in here, you can go for Isaiah, something a little bit more tanky, and see if it works. Both these two teams were aficionados of that type of gameplay back in the day.
It was funny, when we were talking to the teams, a lot of them just pined wistfully for the days where they could have a Reinhardt up there. Many tank players, of course, they got their start in Overwatch as Reinhardts, and then they have found in recent times that they've had to pursue the path of the scientist when they just wanted to be burly and hold up a shield.
And of course, this Australia team, RQT, just in game chat, has said he's actually spent more time outside of Australia than in Australia this year. And that's a reality for a lot of teams that really want to make their mark internationally. And the one thing that sets this Australian team apart from perhaps their counterparts here in Australia is that they weren't satisfied with challenging Australian teams, getting Australian scrims as they're called. They wanted to go outside. They wanted to challenge Korean teams. They wanted to challenge Southeast Asian teams. And it's worth bearing in mind that Blank played a lot against the Apex teams while they were in Taiwan. They managed to get scrims against them as well. As was mentioned on the desk, a lot of the Korean teams didn't want to scrim their Korean counterparts in the Apex League. They didn't want to give away too much information. So Blank, or Team Australia as they're known here, benefited a heck of a lot from that experience, that exposure, the opportunity to go up against these high-caliber teams all around the world.
It's one of the greatest advantages Australia has coming in to this group stage. And yes, there are many very good teams in this group stage that a lot of people want to support and see do well, but Australia has a great advantage coming in here just because they have had that core of players together for so long. They have globe-trotted across the world in different competitions, and really with their performance against Italy that we saw there, we saw the fruits of their labor.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, and for anyone that's confused, the blue team is Australia and the red team is Italy. There we go, that's all lined up. And we say this about Australia, right? But Italy, they're in the heart of Europe. One of Overwatch's most competitive, one of their biggest regions. And a lot of these players have had the chance to compete up against top European teams. They have that experience, they're close by, so they can obviously get those scrims fairly comfortably. And the Italian teams have been a fixture in European Overwatch, perhaps not in the top tier, but they've had their experience.
And they've been very passionate as well. We know they put in a lot of hours scrimming and prepping for the World Cup, and I know they're more comfortable in Control, so we'll see if they can come out here and have a stronger look. Both teams here, Mitch, though, sticking with the dive. No Reinhardt's out here yet.
I'm okay with that, ZP. I really am. Shrine, of course, is the map we're on right now. It features this raised area in the middle of the map, but Kiki started things off well. Ceres fell early on. We're going to be on board with ATAR for a little bit here now, as he's trying to stay safe on the point. Look at that damage there. Nothing Fighter could do to avoid that one.
And what we're seeing here is ATAR again, working with incredible amounts of space, Mitch, where Australia's front line, their tanks, and Kiki and Trill are making so much room for ATAR.
And look, Italy is not running a Diva right now. They're running a triple DPS dive. This is To be fair, this is a little cocky going up against Australia because they lack the appropriate level of support or protection for their backline. So people like ATAR can sit at a comfortable distance and pressure with this hit scan damage on towards the weaker targets on Italy. But that's a good opening fighter.
They were able to hold back, and they got I Eat You Up early on. That gives Italy a 65. That means they can be more aggressive, and we see it right now. They're diving right in. This is where 3 DPS can be scary, but attack visor in from ATAR. Not able to find the target he's looking for early on, but it's Carnifex for Italy, breaking things wide open, and the Italians will not be denied this time.
And you can see what a triple DPS dive can do with a man advantage. You know, ironically enough, it was Fighter at long range who hit the Helix rocket to clean up. Eat You up there just trying to stall for a little bit longer. But for Italy, now they're back in control. It's worth noting that Australia, though, is sitting on 44%. They had a good start, they won the first fight, and now they can come back in with a couple of these ultimates as well.
Australia's in a great position, but this is where a 3 DPS setup can be deadly, where you can flank in from multiple sides. The other team usually comes in through one doorway, and now here comes Australia coming in from the left, Mitch. We'll see how Italy engages.
They need to stay healthy. Getting to this point, that's the problem. Matar's like half health right now and needs to drop the mining field down and heal up before he can join the rest of his team. But now they're going to go in. Soundberry's going to be coming out here for RQT. They're going to press it forward. Italy have given a little bit of room off the point. They popped their own sound barrier, and now it's on for Young and all. But in the midst of it, Australia captured the point. This is big.
Mitch, you can't do that. You can't get off the point when you have 2 support ultimates. Italy, with a tragic mistake there, they give up the initiative to Australia, even when they could have played it ult for ult. And Australia, off of Italy's confusion, they're able to mop it up right there, because Italy, they just rolled back onto the point in a bit of a panic, and they couldn't bring it back.
And ZP, even if Australia lost this fight, they controlled the point for most of it. They could have just stalled out if they realised they were losing and gotten free percentage. Italy respected Australia so much when that sound barrier came from RQT, they stepped off the point entirely, gave all the room for Australia. It's a triple DPS comp. You need to be aggressive as Italy.
You can't be that scared, and I understand that Australia's been intimidating so far, Mitch. I really do, but Italy, with the mistake, and now they have to dive right back in, but they're diving into the blender. The tactical visor right now is out, and ATAR out for blood. Plenty of damage going into the backline, and he's going to clean up the triple.
And ATAR, now he's like a little kid at Christmas time, right? He's got a tactical visor. Guess what? There's no diva to shut any of that damage down. He can select his target with impunity. It doesn't matter who he goes for. Everyone is vulnerable, and Australia picks up the first round in this 3-round series, of course, on Nepal. A brilliant opening, but Italy, you have to think, ZP, dug their own grave.
They did, and if you think back to how we were talking about how teams play 3 DPS, is that, generally speaking, there's a lot of pressure getting on you as a team when you try and get through that door if the other team is running 3 DPS, and they didn't pressure it as well as they needed to, especially when they could have engaged with 2 support ultimates. They could have forced Australia to come out with their own defensive ultimates, and instead, Australia forced the ultimates out of Italy, and it should have been reversed.
You were not happy about that, were you? You were quite frustrated to see Italy step off the point.
No, I just sat here, it's like, why? Why have you done this, Italy? Especially when they, as you mentioned, they could have at least stalled for a little bit longer.
So now Italy as well, it's a slice of humble pie perhaps for them as they bring the diva back into their team composition. They'll be fighter as the pilot, fighter pilot if you will, but Kiki going to stay on the diva for Australia. They're not changing too much here at all. You see, they're very much happy with 76 Tracer.
Well, Mitch, when something is working as well as it is, why would you change? Australia has no reason to change up their composition here with how well they've been playing. And immediately, you see the focus fire with the Discord Orb, taking downstairs. Both teams, though, down to Winston, and it's more even than Australia might like.
Yeah, losing Winston earlier on for Australia was not ideal. Both divas are desuited right now, so the 76 here for ATAR might have a little bit more room to work with. Nicely done. RQT is going to turn on towards Link in that fight. The high ground, this contest has been going on for quite some time. Australia can win that, and now they can move to the point to capture it for the first hold.
And what we're seeing there, of course, that was a fight where ultimates were not a factor, but Australia, just better poke damage overall, more contribution coming in from their flankers, where I Eat You Up has been eating Italy up most of this match. And overall, Australia just showing a stronger look here, and Italy, they're going to be hard-pressed as now they have to come back in and try and find a way of retaking.
Tale of 2 pulse bombs right now. Carnifex and Eat You Up both have them available. It's really about where they use them at this stage. There's a little bit of a Tracer battle here, back and forth. You never pulse bomb the other Tracer, of course. Nicely done, though. Eat You Up pressures on towards Carnifex. He tried to get the health pack CP, but it was too late.
Far too late, and I Eat You Up puts the team on his back. When you win the Tracer-on-Tracer matchup that quickly, it means that not only do you have a man advantage, but it also just opens up the rest of your team. They don't have to worry about Tracer in the back line. It's not the type of thing you can have happen if you're trying to take a fight.
Dragon Blade and Pulse Bomb now for Italy. So they've got offensive ultimates to use here, but RQT a sound barrier, and Gamba has his transcendence. Australia can really ration these support ultimates out and actually survive a lot of damage. Look at that pulse bomb get dropped on card effects. You never see that. He could have recalled out of that one, but he falls down. The damage was there regardless, and now the pressure's going to be put on. There's no pulse bomb, sorry. I thought I heard the sound, but it will be eat you up. Now, letting that one go, not finding anyone with it.
Mitch, who needs a pulse bomb, and you can just one-clip the guy. That is how good I Eat You Up has been right now, and Australia able to just continue pressing their advantage. Italy, they're on the hot seat right now. They think this is their window. They blow both support ultimates, but they're not layered as well as they could be. They're going to be losing the effect of that soon. And Australia, they disengage well, but the D.Va self-destruct going to finally open the way here for Italy. This should be a retake for them finally, with Australia at about 80%.
And you feel pretty bad if you're ATAR there. It was the rock and sock show with Sarah Scott in his face, and there was no way he'd be able to avoid certain disintegration by the self-destruct. Trill now has his own primer rate, but it's more for stall purposes at this stage. With him falling down now, Interrupt as well is going to follow an exit stage right in a similar fashion, but it's 91% on the point, and Link's fallen here.
They not only bought extra time there, as you mentioned, Link is out. That means Australia, if they regroup in time, they're going to be able to run in as 6 and really pressure Italy. And Italy, they have no more margin for error here, Uber. If they lose this next fight, that's it. The round is over, and the fight is underway. ATAR already starting out with a bang.
Yeah, Nisa got completely collapsed on there as well. The dive was well put together, but ATAR had the damage. Carnifex now needs to do something for Italy. He needs to try and hang around. He is still alive, trying to charge in his pulse bomb. Carnifex, blink twice if you're in trouble, mate. Oh, he's going to struggle here. He gets taken down. Gumba finds a headshot there, and Australia are all over it like moss on a rock, ZP. 95% here to 27. And looks like they're going to finish things off right here.
Australia just playing surgically right now. Great ultimate economy across the board. Great mechanical skill, and Italy is being smothered by the Australians right now, who have come out incredibly strong.
A good opening for them as well, and you can see that they definitely are feeling comfortable on his control maps. Now, outside, of course, the blunder that we did see Italy make in that first map, ZP, the second one seemed, at least felt a little bit more competitive. Started off in a very standard way, that fight up on the high ground on the village stage here. Once they had the point, they had to use so many ultimates to try and maintain that presence there. And of course, I feel like, honestly, Carnifex has been under pressure by Eat You Up the entirety of this series so far.
Well, he has, and that's the thing where you think about Tracer matchups. Yes, a Tracer can kill another Tracer at multiple moments, but you can't have it be as one-sided as it was, and I Eat You Up was generally getting the better of card effects. And what does that do to Italy? Not only is Italy going to be down a man there, they don't have the distraction into the back, and it makes things incredibly tough for the rest of the team to win a fight. So again, this is rearing its head where Italy is having trouble opening up clean team fights with all 6 members.
It's concerning signs, of course, and we talk about ultimate economy a fair bit as well in this particular game. And of course, for Italy, they struggled to really have that bank that they really needed. And more importantly, those support ultimates here. We actually saw that both RQT and Gumba had theirs ready to go for maybe the second or third fight. It makes it a lot easier. If you can ration them wisely over the course of the round, it can be very, very hard to find a point where you are at a disadvantage in terms of those abilities.
Indeed, and the other thing we saw with Italy there too, in terms of using their support ultimates, one of the final fights there, they were a little bit panicked where, what did we see? We saw the sound barrier, and while the barrier was still in progress, we saw the transcendence come in. You can layer those a little bit better to give yourself a little bit more staying power in these fights. And for Italy, they've really just had to sort of throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at it to make it work.
And this was I Eat You Up's last sort of play here. You see whether the fight was won. The pulse bomb was stuck beautifully to Bims there, but he maintains a constant presence in the fight. And I'm always looking at Fighter specifically and seeing that he's got so many avenues to try and cover with that defense matrix. It's very, very difficult for him to prevent all the damage sources from making such an impact on that Italian roster. It's not easy.
Right, and don't forget for Fighter too is that not only does he have to protect the back line, but he has to worry about getting in on ATAR. You don't want to give ATAR the room that he's had this entire time, and yet ATAR has been great in this matchup here so far.
Well, it's half time now, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to head back over to the desk with Golden Boy and the crew to break down what we've seen so far.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, and there you go. Look at that. I love the signs. Signs are nice.
Signs are great.
I need healing. You need Clearly you don't.
Who doesn't, right?
Clearly you don't. All right, guys. Australia on a roll right now, man. This team clearly proving why they are feared in this group, why every single team we spoke to was right in their belief that Australia was not only the team to beat, but a team that could very well make it out of the group here. So, James, you picked a good one.
Yeah, you definitely got to see that experience does win out in a lot of these matchups. Once again, 13 weeks,
3 months that they played in the OPC, and you could see the discipline that they were able to hone in on there. In the individual play, they were able to just get the solo frags by themselves against their counterparts, and every single time they pushed in, they looked like a well-oiled machine. All the cogs were just moving right.
What about for you, Flame? What were some of your takeaways for the Australian team here?
I mean, you could tell that the experience was there. They know what they want to do. They had a game plan. They stuck to it. I think Italy was trying a little bit to figure out what they needed to do. I don't think that they played a team of the caliber of this Australian squad, but Australia does look strong. You have to remember, though, that they did pick the first map. It was probably the more dominant performance. If they didn't do well in Kings Row, I think I would have been a little bit shocked, seeing as it was their first pick and they are the top seed in this particular match. So going about as expected as I would have anticipated, but
yeah.
There's a lot of games to be played.
Exactly. We still have 2 games remaining here, but let's go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights from our first 2 matches. If you're just joining us here, Australia is up 2-0 against Italy, and we have 2 more left to go. And I have to say, I mean, Atar has just been lights out on this 76. Very impressive stuff there, James.
Yeah, his positioning was fantastic. He was always next to his supports. Arky and Gumbo were there to support him, make sure he stayed safe. And you saw, when you have a 76 that has that much space, he gets so much free damage off, and that's why he was consistently on that kill feed. He didn't even have to rely on his tactical visor to pick up a lot of these kills. They were just pure, raw aim.
Now, we saw some life out of the Italian roster, though,
We did.
Zoe.
We really did. I really think they did well on their first attack on Kings Row. They took that first point really convincingly, actually, and they had a good run there. I was very impressed with Link's Genji play, because the Italian team, prior to the tournament, did tell us that we're actually not confident on Genji. We're actually not going to run it. We prefer a 2-2-2 setup with Tracer and Soldier, but they did end up running the Genji, and I do feel like the very first map, Genji was the one player who kept them in the game.
On that same note, though, you do see what happens when you pull the Genji in instead of the D.Va. You do let Atar kind of have a highlight reel game on 76. You could see as we went through Nepal that they were unsure of who should be playing the D.Va, because they did need a D.Va, as Atar just is not missing right now.
Fighter did switch to the D.Va in the end, but came a little too late.
It did come a little too late. But at least they figured it out. They have a lot of time now for the rest of the match. I would say that knowing what to expect and how to play against it, it was kind of a learning experience right there for Italy. You saw them evolve throughout the first 2 maps, but going into the next 2 maps, I think that we can expect a lot better of a performance and something a little bit more understood.
Well, now we're going to map 3 here in a little bit, and before we get into that, I do want to update everyone on the results of the first 2 games. Again, if you're just joining us for the first time, Australia, the hometown team, they're up 2-0 there. You see the schedule for the rest of the day, and it makes the home crowd pretty happy here. But now we gotta shift focus here to the next half, because you have game 3 coming up next, and in Shanghai, we've seen what everyone likes to pick here. Are we expecting Horizon, Zoe, from Italy?
All right. I mean, I don't want to run the risk of pulling a flame here. Just keep on predicting it wrong. But I would still think Horizon is most likely going to be the map we will be seeing. But yeah, I wouldn't put all my jelly beans on that one.
Okay, jelly beans, interesting.
That's my betting.
Snack. Okay, I like that. I would have said like Sour Patch Kids, but James, what about you?
Yeah, definitely. You saw that Italy did make their preparations for this, right? Control is actually Australia's one of the best modes, where they have a 77 overall win percentage with it. On Assault, that's where they're a little bit more iffy. They do have a great record with Volskaya, and so that's why you want to avoid that. They have an 8-2 record over at OPC with it. So Horizon Lunar Colony, one of those unknown factors you can bring in and just take people out of their game, out of their comfort zone.
Flame, do you think after Shanghai and how many times we saw Horizon, and also how many times you were wrong, do you think that a lot of these teams, especially C and D, Group C and D, prepared for this because of what we saw in Shanghai?
I think if you're Italy, I think if you're Sweden, even if you're Japan, or Vietnam rather, no, it's Japan in this group. Going forward, you want to know how to play Colony, because you're going to need to go up against this Australian squad. They just came back from OPC. OPC didn't have Colony in the match, in their map pool. So this would probably be the map that they're least familiar with. I mean, we had a chance to speak to Italy yesterday. We said, what's your plan? They said, if all else fails, we've got some spicy, meme strats ready. So I think that they know what they want to do. I think that they have a plan, and this map should be one of the ones that they will look strongest on.
Yeah, and for Italy, they surely had to have been preparing for that moment, right? Going into it.
Definitely. And I mean, we did saw some good plays right there. I feel like there was a little drop in communication at some points. Cherries went in there a lot by himself, died very, very quickly. So they just need to, play more as a unit right there. And I hope they can at least take one map of Australia.
I think we're going to see some more like you mentioned before, the spicy, meme.
They were saying they came here.
Something
they did say like we came here to have fun. We're just gonna meme it. So I don't know what that means.
That was actual words from.
That's a quote. That's an actual quote from the Italian team. We're gonna meme it. Whatever that means. So
I wouldn't even begin to understand what that is. All right, do you think we might see some Widow? Perhaps.
Probably some Widow, maybe some Reaper. Teams are definitely preferring that in Shanghai. I mean, you can run whatever you want as long as it makes sense. You can pull out the Mei, you can pull out the Sombra, you can pull out
Risa,
you can pull out the Risa Torbjorn if you want.
Yeah.
There's really no limit to the possibilities that you can run, especially on new maps, and especially assault maps in particular, because anything goes. As long as you're stalling the point, you're doing your job, and that's important.
It's just your imagination.
Just let it run wild.
Let it run wild. I mean, if you can run Bastion Reinhardt, you could do anything. What a time to be alive, kids. Okay, so. We know that they're going to go for Horizon here. It seems like that's all said and done. I mean, I would avoid Volskaya like the plague if I'm Italy, right, James?
Oh, most definitely. Like I said, 8-2 record. That's the record that Australia bring in from OPC. They know how to play it. They probably know how to play against the Sombra on there. They have a lot of experience. And once again, Horizon is just one of those unknown factors. And Italy, in our interview with them, they said that they love first point of Horizon, which many teams just kind of folded under the pressure on the first point when we saw in Shanghai, and it was whether or not you would get the second point. And so for them to say that they have confidence in their first point, that's a huge statement to make.
All right, guys. Well, it's time to get our second half underway. Let's see what Italy is going to pick up. Australia versus Italy. Let's make some noise, people. Come on. Let's make some noise. Let's send it over to the casters.
I think we need to tell Golden Boy that you don't have to ask an Australian twice to make a little bit of noise. It's kind of something we do. Going to be back here, of course, at the caster booth for the second half of this first match. And, of course, Assault now is on the menu. And who's better at making some spicy meatballs than the Italian CP?
Well, we're going to find out right now. And let me just ask you, Mitch, you were involved in the Australian team. Do they have the defense force ready to deal with this beam-based offense if it comes to fruition?
I mean, our border security is pretty good, but I don't know about Horizon, if that's a map that's going to come up here. Volskaya, as was indicated on the caster desk, it actually used to be one of Australia's best maps. It's one of the ones that they said they really like to play. It will be Horizon Lunar Colony. I feel like this is an astute decision coming out from the Italians, who did select the map, having lost the previous one. And if there's any way you're going to be able to sneak something cheesy, something a little bit different, this would be where it would happen.
Well, of course, because it is the newest map in the Overwatch pool, and you have a team like Team Australia, where they've been together for a long time. They've had a lot of practice on everything except Horizon Lunar Colony. So this is more of an even playing field for the Italian team, which is newer in playing together by comparison. So, Mitch, if they are going to come out and strike back at Australia, this is a great choice.
Look, we've talked to a lot of players about this particular map, and they really enjoy it. As far as assault maps go, this is very unique. The flyover now is showing us just the first staging ground for the defensive team here, just around the corner. Now, there's such a large open expanse between right here and the point over in the distance, and that creates some situations, as Flame pointed out on the desk, where something like Widowmaker or something for a longer range game could be an option.
Look, Mitch, everyone's favorite smug purple lady, she loves Assault to begin with. We see it over and over again on Assault, where teams will go to Widowmaker. And why is Widow so effective? Because if you can get an early pickoff, it's a long run back on these maps for the defense to get back to that first point. So the impact of an early pickoff from Widowmaker is felt substantially more here on Assault maps.
Yeah, honestly, it's on both sides, all right? Where teams normally fight is rather equidistant from both spawns, that first staging ground. So defenders or attackers both, well, attackers lose a lot of time if they get picked off there, and of course defenders, it's a little bit stressful to get back onto the point. It was mentioned we might see some Reaper on this map. That will probably come more towards the end, where you're just sitting on a point and the enemy has to get up in your face. And a Reaper is not someone you want to meet in a dark alley at night, ZP. He will cause you problems because that's his turf, that close range fight.
Reaper just dominates space, and where he's most effective and why teams will run him on a second is that he will be able to just clean up people as they move in, and they have to get on the point. They can't worry about positioning or worrying about Reaper getting right in front of them.
Okay, so we notice that here we've got Ichu up and Trill positioned up on the higher ground here, just around the corner, of course, is where the attacking team's going to come from. This definitely signifies a little bit of aggression early. Trill's going to drop down and then have his jump pack cooldown available if he needs to get out of the fight. This is something that Miro from South Korea actually showed first, this idea of really using high ground effectively as Winston.
The good thing about this as Winston too is, as you mentioned, you don't always have to use the jump to engage. You can use it as an escape, but you can get plenty of damage in on the other team. His weapon strikes multiple targets at the same time, and that can be great for ambushing as a Winston.
So Italy are taking a lot of real estate now. They're pushing quite far forward. Cheris got taken quite low early on in the fight, forced to put a bubble down, but he can be topped up on health, and Italy can keep moving. They haven't lost anyone yet, and look how close to the point they are. They managed to avoid detection, or at least being picked off, and now they're ready to fight up close and personal.
I'm not sure if this is Mimi as they promised, but it is sneaky, and it is great. They're able to take down Atar early on. Again, it's Nisa coming in big with those Zenyatta offensive strikes, and now Italy able to get onto the point, and Australia, Mitch, they're being pushed back.
Gumbo puts a Bardic Grenade down on Italy, and this is going to slow them a little bit here, but probably not enough. Atar going down so early on in the fight, he was going to make it so hard for Australia to hang on this point. It's hard to defend normally, and then playing at a man disadvantage makes it even worse. Now they're being pushed off. Link says, get off my lawn, son. And the Soldier 76 is going to use the arm's length to get the damage done. Atar, late to the party, finds a Helix Rocket kill, but he should have been around earlier on. Italy did very well to pick him off so early.
Mitch, not only is it sweet revenge here for Italy, and a much better start here so far, take a look at the advantage they have as they move into this next point. This is their window to really shake Australia to their core if they're able to move in and utilize this advantage well.
And this is a huge window for Italy right now. They've got some big offensive ultimates and a sound barrier available. It's only the nano boost for Gunby here in Australia, and we'll see how this works out now. Link going to come in with a tactical visor. Some of the damage has been stymied so far by Kiki. Now he turns his back over towards Winston, but Trill's still alive. Atar falls down again, first in this fight.
Sound barrier has been invested into those attack visor, but Italy on the man advantage, and they're not stopping here. Carnifex having a much better game so far. The self-destruct creating room, and Mitch, Italy on the verge of an incredibly fast attack here. They're 2 ticks in, they're moving the points, and Australia, they are on the edge, and they're not able to get back. Italy shocking Australia to open things up here on the lunar colony.
Blistering opening from the Italian squad there, and they fought very nicely. Crucially, the first pick-off in both of those fights was Atar. Definitely the ace up the sleeve for the Australian team when they have positions or situations where they can fight from arm's length. ZP, the Italian squad got in position for that first point very early and very comfortably.
I think it's a case where perhaps this is the one map where this Italian squad might have more experience in Australia, where we talk about the advantage Australia has playing together as a team for a long time, but as we mentioned, this map is new, and if Italy wanted a trump card here, it certainly worked to their favor, because now Australia, they're in a bit of a pickle for their own attack.
The reality is that all of these teams have limited experience on this particular map. And that's a situation then when individual prowess or shot calling or focus fire really come to the fore as your main weapons in the arsenal here to try and clinch victories or at least get fast times. Australia now are put in a position where they, in the back of their mind, know they need to go aggressive. They need to take the initiative and push Italy back as quickly as they can. You don't want to be at a time-based disadvantage. Even if you finish the map here for Australia and you're behind by a couple of minutes, that does not bode well for the replays, of course, on this map.
And bear in mind, too, just finishing on Assault is something that is always in question. You're not guaranteed to get to that final point. So no matter how you slice it here, Italy has given themselves an incredible advantage. And now, Mitch, it just remains to be seen, how will the Australians strike back?
Italy utilised a route on towards his first point here on the left side of the screen that left them sort of shielded from scrutiny from the high ground presence of Australia. They literally walked underneath Trill and RQT, used the tunnels to actually get right next to the point without really being spotted. I mean, Australia knew they were there, but now Australia needs to decide, do we go aggressive, do we get in their face, or do we try and manoeuvre ourselves onto the point and then fight there?
Given how Australia was looking for the more brute force defense, Mitch, I think we might be in store for a brute force offense. I might be wrong. I don't think they're going to be as sneaky as Italy. I think they're just going to fight this straight up, and it's looking like that is exactly how this is going down.
Yeah, they're going to go for a right side play here. Definitely going to get up in the face of Italy, and this will provoke a retreat now. Italy back to the safety of this point, and Australia now want to try and encircle, or at least set up in good positions to chunk away and win this war of attrition when it comes to damage.
And it is a war of attrition. You see both teams giving each other a lot of respect. It's not a full dive in right now. The poke war is going back and forth. Both teams jockeying, but Australia, they're getting lower right now. I eat you up, having to back out immediately. Italy with room to aggress themselves, but this is a game of chess right now, and now it's Italy getting pushed back, Mitch.
Fighter very low, he's going to get desuited in just a second, and he is. Atar was the one to clean up that suit, and he's taken out as soon as he leaves the suit. Australia have a man advantage here, but they're not sure if they want to go forward just yet, but it seems to be working out. Remember, man advantage is the most important thing in these fights. Getting the first kill usually sets you up for posterity, and so far the climbing wall, Australia all over it.
Mitch, does it surprise you that Australia decided not to be sneaky and just rolled right in there and looked for a brawl?
It's a similar approach to what Italy went went for, to be honest, CP.
Yeah.
The point is to get close to the point, set up behind your healing, behind your biotic fields, and just win the damage battle. Australia, just a little bit ahead of Italy in that regard.
There is one key difference here between the two attacks, is that Italy had time to build up ultimates of their own. It was not as decisive for Australia, which means that Italy has a much better chance of a good defense.
But you see, Atar had room to work yet again because Fighter was desuited at the start. Right at the beginning of the fight. It's great for Atar. He even held on to that tac visor, which is important. And now Australia wasting no time in going for the second point.
They immediately got the second point right now. And here comes Atar. Plenty of room to work with. The tac visor is up. And the sound barrier is in. Australia doubling down, but what a sleep dart. That's going to put him down right there. And it keeps Italy's chances alive. But it might not be enough, Mitch. They're still dying by the dozens.
Yeah, that's right. Trul's going to find Link here. And Italy now just need to just drip on towards the point in ones and twos to try and keep this going, to keep themselves ahead in time. But Australia are not allowing this to happen. They are finding the targets and they are removing them with, I guess, real strong decision-making here. It's going to be Kiki on towards Cheris. Atar's forced to back away here. Great biting grenade, though, to force Aussies back.
And Atar was able to stay alive. He backed out, got some room, and now the peppering begins once more. Plenty of room for Atar. His own personal shooting gallery here, and Australia is making just as aggressive as an offense. But Mitch, Italy's doing a better job of stalling this out.
Yeah, but Australia haven't lost any players here. They can still keep coming forward. If they lost one or two at the start of this fight, they wouldn't be able to play the long game. But they're not getting picked off here. They're healing themselves up. Atar has got so much safety up on his high ground here. It must be a matter of time. The Celtic truck can come in here. Who's going to be around to see it? Kiki there couldn't get D-Suit to back up. He's down, but he found Bim before he drops.
It's almost capped. It could not be any closer right now. And yeah, Atar might be up here for so long that he's paying rent, but the tac visor is up again. Two tac visors, one fight for Atar, rolling around and is just able to decimate Italy from above. Please evict this man.
That's what I wanted to see from Italy there. They were behind the 8-ball. They were going to get snowballed on in some way or another. It was going to be a close finish. And Australia were looking like they had the momentum to finish things off. So, we saw a couple of switches. The mate was even picked up there. You notice that Carnifex was able to make himself fairly scarce on the point while maintaining overtime or maintaining a presence to keep it contested. And just the little things here have given Italy a slim advantage. But it's clear to see both of these two teams are not entirely comfortable on the defense.
Certainly not. This is a case where offense has been the name of the day. And Mitch, there's plenty of time left in both teams' time banks, which means we might be in for a bit of a slugfest here. Now, it is worth noting that there is less time remaining for the Australian team, so they will be attacking again here. So 2 Australian attacks in a row. Maybe this gives Italy a little bit of a chance to look at and go, maybe we're going to defend a different way, because they just saw the Australians attack a moment ago.
The name of the game right now, it is Overwatch, but the name of this next round is going to be adaptation. Australia now need to consider perhaps what were their problems or what worked out for them earlier on here. On the attack, it seems to be pretty squeaky clean, but they need to start thinking about how they're going to shore up their defense when it does come to that. Despite what the scoreboard overlay says, Australia are actually attacking again, as you pointed out, CP. Italy in the red will be defending. And we'll see if Australia want to go for that direct approach once again.
Well, they very well just might. Italy, they have that chance to see this offense once, so as you mentioned, adaptation. Will we see it here as Australia looking for the right way in? And so far, Mitch, it looks like they're taking a very similar path, going straight up. We'll see if Italy has the counter this time.
Pressing forward again, going off towards the right-hand side. Australia trying to get as much real estate as they possibly can. They might be paying rent, as you pointed out, if they hang around for too long, but the point is to make Italy pay. That's the goal.
Italy right now rotating around. The poke war is underway. Link, he can build the Helix rocket. They're going to be forced back, but that can really snowball on. That means he's not going to be able to poke them much back. And Australia right now getting a little bit of the better of this, but Italy striking right back.
Drew's lucky to be alive here. He got slept as he tried to jump on him, but he managed to get back towards safety. Link is half health. That's Cheris going down early on in the fight. Kiki will be desuited here, but Link's not around to make the advantage out of the lack of Diva suit on this fight. Australia have opened this up very, very nicely here. And again, it's about pressuring the Diva down, exhausting the defense matrix resource, and then getting that soldier in position.
And you see it just go back and forth the entire time. A struggle between both teams, but once one team gets the edge, it snowballs out of control. And this is actually an even better attack for Australia than they had last time. They get the point quicker. There's less ultimates for Italy to be able to defend. And Australia has a window to really strike back here, Mitch.
Strap yourself in, ZP. This might be quite the map. Australia now with 3 checkpoints in hand. They want to now go for this last point. They don't have a lot of ultimates available right now, but a little bit of fighting, a little bit of poking will see them with quite an arsenal to bring to bear.
Atar right now so close to attack visor. Again, up here in his favorite spot. He has not moved here for much time in the last few minutes of this match, and here comes the visor. This is a cleanup visor. He's already at an edge. He just wants to clean up the remainder of the people on the point, and it is beautiful here, Mitch. He gets his counterpart down, and Australia looking like they might get a quick cap here indeed.
They're already 2/3 of the way through, and now Italy are throwing themselves at this point. They need a good time bank to work with here, but Australia, this is how you put pressure on them right now. And Nano boosted D.Va on the point. It's just so Fighter can stay alive and sustain through the damage with the damage reduction. And now self-destruct on the high ground. No one's there to feel it.
Australia right now, they're doubling down the Transcendence out, keeping everyone alive. They still have everyone here and on the point. Italy, though, they're able to buy time from sound barrier. That lets them aggress back. Gunva under pressure. He's going to fall. Carnifex getting his prize into the back. And remember, Mitch, trades out for the defense here better, but it's not enough. They're going down over and over again, and Australia might have another point here in just a moment.
Carnifex started the fight so well, but it won't matter. Australia get the second point for the second time running now. Slightly longer stall there. Actually, no, I was about to say, to be fair, we didn't even see a May come out for Italy in that occasion. Nicely executed from Australia to come forward. You saw that Bionic grenade actually should have made fans nervous once they got dropped and eat you up, but they stuck together in 2s and 3s. They went in towards those side rooms there as well, and it's very, very hard for Italy to know where to be facing.
Indeed, and now we were talking about adaptation earlier on. Do you think that even though Australia might have less experience on this map, that the fact that they've been together for a team so long might give them a better adaptation to this Italian offense as it comes out here?
I actually think it comes more down to the acumen of the shot caller on the side of both Australia and Italy here as well. It's ultimately going to come down to them. Maybe it's more of a democratic decision, but ultimately a mind on either of these teams needs to probably read and sort of conject as to why did we get shaken off this first point so early on? Is this something we expected? Is this something that happens to us often? And what tweaks can we make just to give us a little bit more sticking power, a little bit more elbow grease up on that first point? Because I really feel that is where this match is going to be won and lost. You could see what ATAR could do to Italy while they were trying to filter out of their spawn on that last point. He had the tactical visor and he could pretty much see the entire point. Italy couldn't even get out of spawn without being put under intense scrutiny by ATAR.
One thing I think is key here when talking about ATAR and how Italy dealt with him is that the way Italy dealt with him is not something you can rely on every time, because it was Nisa who got the early pick on the ATAR on their first attack. And while it's great when a Zenyatta can give you that level of contribution, even for your best Zenyatas in the game, you can't rely on that. So Italy needs to have a better plan, I feel like, to deal with ATAR, and they can't just rely on Nisa this time around.
Australia up on the high ground. They're not on the left, they're on the right more so this time. You see Trill's already dropped on in. Now we can get out. A bit of damage done early, and the sleep dart on towards Cheris might be a problem for Italy. They don't have him to initiate the fights for them. They're going to have to back away. This is far better from Australia right at the beginning.
They have way better space control here. When you're able to take out a Winston and isolate him like that, you give so much more room to your defense. And now we see Carnifex creeping around the side, waiting for his opportunity. I think they just might be waiting for Cheris to get back in here before they go in again. But think about the time that Australia's bought here for themselves.
And Italy need to get information but not get picked off. That's very important considering what ATAR can do from long range. Now Italy, they're taking a leaf out of Australia's playbook. Over towards the right-hand side, try and get in position. And now let's see how the Aussies respond.
We'll have to see, and right now Carnifex going up from the outskirts. Death from above is his game plan right now, just getting poke in while his team comes in from the opposite side.
Yeah, he's split off from the rest of his team. That's very important to note, CP. Just trying to harass and put Australia out of position. But Australia moves on to the point. Nisa, all of his shield is gone. Carnifex drops down. That's not good for Italy at all.
No, I eat you up. Able to win that matchup that he's been winning all series long. Gives Australia a big edge here in Italy. They just move in. They say, look, we have to go now, and they even it up. I eat you up out of the fight. But is it going to be enough? Italy, they commit with the sound barrier. They're down players. Australia's in a better position here. And with attack visor from ATAR, this is truly pushing Italy back.
I have to say, beautiful stuff from Link there to find eat you up. The rocket flip was just sublime. But both teams had sound barriers in the fight, and Italy decided to commit after losing Carnifex early. And they used a lot of ultimates on top of that as well. That's the problem. It's like, we've lost a player, we're going to use our sound barrier, our support ultimates, and Australia had ones to respond, and now Australia comes out on top with a distinct ultimate advantage.
It's a huge advantage here, and for Italy going in on this next fight, they're really going to have to hope that they get a great Transcendence that catches Australia a bit off guard. If the Transcend can power them up here and deal with whatever nano boost comes in, it might be okay for Italy, but they need sublime execution here, and they can't lose anyone early.
Nano boost being used here by Gumbra, probably on towards Trill. It's hard to see from here, but Link's now going to drop down. Transcendence from Italy, they used it earlier. They've used it before they get to the point. And Carnifex now. He's going to get caught out. Beautiful sneak dart from Gunba, but it's not enough to secure the kill. Link going for a desperate tack visor, but there's a Winston in his face. It's a Rock'em Sock'em show, and Atar is going to be able to get a lot of damage done for the back line. 3 kills for him in that fight. They're trying to pressure RQT. He's been caught out. This might be what Italy needs to at least get some more progress.
This is fine for Italy. At first it was looking bad because Trill was just having a party in that room, but Italy able to strike right back, Mitch, and now trade-offs, remember, they're good for the offense on first points. Now they're pushing Australia back, and they have an advantage here on the point. But remember, Australia will be able to get back in and delay this if they want.
Australia giving ground. They're going to allow some capture progress to occur here. Patrul goes straight on in. Cheris goes low. He's forced to use a primal rage. He's found 2 supports on their own, but he knows he needs to get back to the point and help the rest of his team create space. That's what he's doing right now. Self-destruct onto the point. Here comes a attack visor in from Atar, but already the kills are going the way of Australia. Fighting gets desuited and take it out. And Atar, it's open season for the 76.
Australia is doing it here once more, and Atar, as you mentioned, plenty of room to move in here after his Tracer and I Eat You Up opens the door. Australia will be pushing Italy back. Italy, that was their window to keep this match competitive. Now, Mitch, it is more in doubt. This could be the case where Australia might be able to choke Italy out here on this first point.
The combination of Trill managing to jump and hit that backline, combined with the rest of Australia focusing Fighter down early on in these fights, is what's giving Italy the most problems. Atar is a deadly weapon, but no 76 can shine when a D.Va is on the battlefield right now in Overwatch. It's not possible. Ask Timing all about that. So now, getting rid of Fighter early on means that Atar can sit back. He's got plenty of apertures to fire through. And Italy now are going to have another crack at this.
They're moving right in, and Link right now in the fray with his tanks. Not a front behind position for 76. He is fighting in the trenches, and Italy, they commit even harder. The sound barrier is out, but Australia, they're not plus. They come into the sound barrier of their own, Mitch, and this is looking very good for them as they get both supports out of the fight.
And I love it. Kiki gets an anti-boost in that fight there as well. He gets a bit of extra damage, but it's more the sustainability. It's the damage reduction that's so good in Australia. Italy are throwing everything at them. Hammer and tongs, even the kitchen sink, but it's just bouncing back. Nice recovery, and this is what I meant about adaptation. Australia playing less far forward, more close together, and their focus has been good.
And the real problem here for Italy is that anytime they go into the coordinated ultimate push, and these pushes they have had all 6 up to begin with, they're still not able to win these fights mechanically, so it's just been difficult for them. At some point, you need your soldier, you need your Tracer to make a play, to make it easier for you. And now a lot of pressure on both Link and Carnifex as this fight begins.
Kiki needs to get desuited, but the self-destruct's going to come in here as well. That was preemptive here, just to take Italy out of position, and it's worked really well. It's created space and allowed Atar again. He finds another kill with the Helix Rocket. Desperation for Italy. Transcendence up on the high ground here. Atar's been caught out of position. He's going to struggle. He's trying to avoid Fighter on that D.Va. He's trying to run into Winston's old bedroom, but Sarah says, get out. This is where I sleep, mate, and this is where you sleep with the fishes.
They got Gumba down early in the fight. That means that they have more room, and by the way, the sound, do not adjust your speakers. We are outside right now. Anti-gravity fight here. Tracer v. Winston. Oh my goodness. Trill just wondering what has gone wrong with his life. Thrown way out of the fight. Italy, not done here yet. Oh no! Winston, your spacesuit can only protect you from so much, my friend.
You're not really supposed to fight out there in general. So I don't really know how that happened. Australia were chasing kills into the great abyss in space where nobody can hear you scream. But now sound barrier is not too far away for RQT here. Australia, that's going to be the attack visor for Atar, and he's going to go for it with an nano boost here. There is really not much you can do about it with Fighter off the map so early on. Sound barrier here for Australia.
Sound barrier's in for Australia. It is now turned into a full-on brawl onto this fight. Both teams win, but there it is. I Eat You Up. The pulse bomb taking down 2, and that might have just sealed this matchup here for Australia.
9 seconds remain, and it's a long walk back to the point for Italy, and they can't run it. They've got to absolutely get there. Sprinting now over towards it, but each one able to catch out Carnifex early on. It's been the story of this game so far. ZP Carnifex can't get any room to work. Now Trill going to give a very shocking reception to Fighter, who gets picked up very early on, and the self-destruct is to no avail. Overtime now.
There's only about 3 members left here for Italy in and around the point, but now they don't have room here, Mitch. They have to keep someone on the point all times. Overtime sticking down. You got to get on the point. They do get back on it, but they are losing member after member. They need a miracle now, and I'm not sure a miracle is walking through that door.
Well, Carnifex moving forward, he gets chucked down. It's just him now. Of course, the Zunyata comes in, the Transcendence, just to stay alive, but Kiki picks off Carnifex there. It doesn't matter if you get healing every second when you get burst down. And Australia take map number 3 off this series. It looked shaky at first, but it's safe to say the Australian squad steeled themselves and established dominance in the second part of that map.
And then you want to talk about big plays here. Let's talk about the pulse bombs that we were seeing here in the series. Huge, especially coming out from I Eat You Up, where he was able to just strike, put Australia on the upper foot, and that's how, even in fights where Italy had the ult advantage, he was able to keep Australia in it.
And this may well have been, as per our discussions earlier on, the biggest opportunity for Italy to strike blood here on the Australian squad. A map that neither team ostensibly is overly experienced at, but you can see the hallmark of strong teams is the ability to identify your weaknesses, to make informed decisions, to rectify those in-game. And Italy, they did go for a little bit of a different approach on the attack, but only because they were forced to do so. Trying to use Carnifex off towards the side just to harass, maybe even try and draw out some support ultimates, but it just didn't happen. This is Eat You Up here, ZP, as you said, just going nuts.
And this is a highlight here where you're able to put fights in your favor by doing that. That is game ending there. In this case, it quite literally was with 10 seconds left remaining. Really good stuff coming out there from the Australian Tracer play of I Eat You Up.
And important to identify as well, that pulse bomb, it was really nice, but it was very much after the fact. That's after Atar had already got himself a tactical visor and nano boost to back it up. One thing Australia doing very well right now is getting that D.Va off the map. Like Flame pointed out on the desk, that's where Atar gets to have a highlight reel game. We've seen Italy either not run the D.Va, like we saw on Nepal, and that didn't work out well, or get it picked off very early on in the fight. And the hard part about that is, Fighter as D.Va is supposed to be the protector. Protect his backline, but he's the one that's suffering all of this focus, and who's going to protect the protector?
Right, and this is a case where you take a look at both sides. What have we been seeing from Australia? They've had better flanking play so far. They've had better tanking play. And when you have better flanking play and tanking play, what are you getting from that? You're getting
Good
a case
vibes?
where, well, not only good vibes, but won fights. Better initiations that set the stage. And though Italy has shown flashes of glory here and there, it simply has not been enough, Mitch, and they've been overpowered.
Yeah, and like we're not trying to orbit around the fact that there's maybe a weakness here on Italy's side. It's maybe comparatively speaking, is that the Australians are very good at identifying where they need to focus down. Also, you notice Italy tried to use Carnifex quite extensively to bait out some support ultimates. It's quite hard to do on a map like Horizon because it's unlikely you're going to find supports not being protected heavily by their team. And this is almost a hallmark of Blank or Australia's, I guess, aptitude at playing a triple tank composition back in the day, is that they're very, very good at sticking together and maintaining a presence while still allowing themselves to have good coverage of an area like that point, for example, to fight back when push comes to shove.
The other thing I would ask you, Mitch, here is going in, we've seen a lot of the Tracer v Tracer play where Carnifex has been getting roughed up a bit by Eat You Up, to say the least. Going into the next map here, where you at least want to take one map to not get goose eggs here in the first series, if you're Carnifex, do you avoid fighting I Eat You Up straight up? Do you look for more support for your team and try and bait him back?
It's hard to do. That's the problem. Like, you don't really want to watch and you don't want to be a part of a Tracer v Tracer battle forever. Right? That's not really how it works. The way you be a better Tracer is by having a greater impact against the enemy backline. But occasionally, if you're a Tracer and you're feeling pretty confident, comfortable dealing with those supports, yeah, you can go for the Tracer. You can nullify their presence. Because the amount of peace of mind that gives to your defenders, also your D.Va, who doesn't have to worry too much about protecting your supports once the enemy Tracer is gone, can switch to an aggressive mode to really shut down the damage from the opposition team instead of having to be more passive and reactive. That's
a very good point, because, of course, once the enemy Tracer is down, your D.Va doesn't have to play the babysitter role as much anymore.
Exactly.
Your D.Va can go up and make life very tough for the opposing Soldier 76. So there is something to be said here for these fights where you would see Carnifex go down early. What does that do to the dynamic of the fight? That puts Link under way more pressure.
And while we were talking, of course, about some of the intricacies of this particular matchup, we are going to be going to Route 66 for our final map of this series. It's 3-0 right now for Australia. Confident opening from the home crowd team. But like you said, we've not only just seen flashes of glory from the Italian squad, there's no doubt that the individual prowess is there. This is a team that says they actually like to play aggressively, but more in a reactive capacity. So they don't want to start fights necessarily by diving in and getting it started. They want to react and try and, utilize the fact the enemy team might be staggered, they might be mid-step, might be out of position, and then they go for the throat.
Mitch, I need you to do something for me. I need you to tell me that what we're seeing on the Australian defense right now is real. Please tell me that on his map, lore-wise, that we're going to be seeing McCree come back in. Please tell me this is real.
As long as he doesn't drink any of the coffee in this diner, I think he's going to be just fine.
Eat something boiled dirt?
Yeah, boiled dirt, exactly. No, Atar can play McCree, there's no doubt about it. He also plays a bit of Genji. We can see that Australia have a formula that works for them. Tracer in 76. Now, the Gumba Sombra is something that Australia's been working on in Taiwan recently as well. They've had to adapt. And they're not afraid to use this one here. RQT, of course, is just going to sit on that Lucio pretty comfortably here. But all eyes are definitely on Gumba to see what he can do defensively. But if they come out with Carnifex on the Widow, which is definitely possible, this could be spicy.
Anytime a Widow is in play, it is spicy. One of the more dynamic heroes in the game, and a great way of opening up a team and saying for Venom. Mitch, though, my heart is broken. There is no McCree in play here. Atar going back to the Trident.
This is a really strange composition. There's actually a Mercy present, but no Farrak here. So Bims is probably going to try and damage boost this Widow as much as possible. This is a very Korean approach. This is where we first saw that appear. That means your body shots can be lethal to 200 HP heroes in many cases. So Australia needs to be very careful and respect this.
They do, and this is where what a Widow does is control sightlines, and there it is. We see a little bit of a difference here. Early on, I Eat You Up going to fall in the Tracer on Tracer Valve, but there is a difference there. It's Fighter on the Tracer this time around, and not Carnifex. Early EMP, though, coming up from the defense. Let's see what Australia does.
The problem is, though, Nisa was able to survive that. He didn't get picked off. What Gumba wants to do is get an EMP and then find his Zenyatta early on. He wasn't in position, or Nisa had good protection. Either way, Australia, fair enough, an early EMP, but it's amounted to nothing.
Well, the problem with the early EMP is that they were already down players, and the players that weren't dead were retreating. They were damaged.
Atar switched over towards Genji here, which is definitely in his wheelhouse. Australia want to pressure Bims and Carnifex as much as possible. Giving the Widow Mercy combo too much space is going to spell absolute doom for you. You really need to control that as much as you can. And now it's Atar who needs to get aggressive.
Carnifex right now holding into the back line. He is priority number one for the Australian team, but Link bringing out the blade, looking for the reinforcements, cutting them down with style. It's 2, no 3 for Link, cleaning up the Australians and giving Italy lots of life here on Route 66.
Beautiful stuff there. You see Bims actually goes for a res just for Carnifex here, so Italy investing heavily in that combination, and it's worked nicely. It's also worth noting, ZP, Pulse Bomb from Fighter, Dragon Blade from Link were invested into that fight. Italy already had a distinct momentum advantage, ultimate advantage, that would have been very, very hard for Australia to hang around here. Gumba, though, still on that Sombra here, hoping to do some work in the second Streets phase.
Well, right now, Carnifex, his own personal shooting gallery. I Eat You Up going to fall again. Fighter having more success in Tracer on Tracer. And Carnifex just controlling sightlines, dominating Australia right now, and they're getting pinned into a corner, Mitch.
Yeah, this is it. Carnifex has got so much space here. This is what you want to do. You get all that space to breathe. Now, Transcendence from Nisa as he realizes that Australia want to take the fight to close quarters. Gumba actually finds Carnifex here. He manages to infiltrate the back lines. The Pulse Bomb was dropped down there. Cheris eventually going to fall. It was Fighter got the D-suit on Kiki. And now Link just has to jockey back. But Australia, much in the same way as King's Row, have managed to establish in the second phase of the map. And there is an EMP available for Gumba for the next fight.
And the key for EMP is that it builds up quickly and can give you a big ultimate economy edge, because oftentimes EMP is all you need to win a fight.
Got a hero switch here for Carnifex, so he realizes now it's going to be hard to make this Widow make it work. He's going to play the 76 here instead of the Tracer. That's the EMP coming in, but Link manages to get the Dragon Blade regardless. He dashes through RQT, picks himself up fairly easily, and now Kiki gets chucked very, very low. He did get burst healed, but the Dragon Blade was in there. Now Link just going to have to jockey back as a self-destruct. Pulse Bomb comes in, Eats You Up, gets himself a brace of kills. He finds Link in Bims with the 2. And that's a beautiful opening for Australia to keep themselves going here. It's still going to be a messy fight.
I Eat You Up. You know what he's eating right now, Mitch? He's eating the dreams of the Italian players, because he has been crushing with pulse bombs all over the series. And anytime Italy is getting a little bit of momentum, anytime a fight is starting to go their way, I Eat You Up is there to ruin things for them.
Pulse Bomb drop in there, though, when Trill's going to fall down to the burst damage thrown in his direction. Dragon Blade being provoked from Atar. He had a sound barrier to start with, but he's found nothing with this blade. It's been very, very hard to penetrate the healing from Nisa's Transcendence in this fight. And now an EMP from Gumba to try and give Australia another race in the hole.
And this is interesting here, where Australia has been trying to take these fights into the corner, but this time it's Nisa able to get good damage to Zenyatta, supporting his team through, and the respawn coming in from Italy lets them get in the second. And Mitch, one thing to note here in second is that it's not always easy for a defense to get out of these small spawn doors.
You can get blocked here very, very easily, especially by a Winston, even a Genji. You can use his reflect here. Gumba has not had a lot of success on his EMPs so far. The last 2 have been pretty underwhelming, even despite the fact that Italy have been forced into close quarters. He hasn't really been able to make it work.
One thing he did there, though, is that we saw Fighter going in a little bit too deep. Gumba was able to take him out, and look at what that's done to Italy's positioning here. They have to back out. They were in a prime position, and that early pickoff from a Sombra, able to put it in their favor.
And this allows the Australian team not only to get out of spawns, to establish some high ground presence. Italy are pushing up very close to them here. You can see now, Australia may not have expected Italy to be so close, but Fighter still drops early in the fight. This can't keep happening to Italy.
No, Fighter started out well, but it has been a rough second stage for him so far. Early kills coming out in favor of Australia, and they just dominate indoors, they dominate outdoors, and they're going to be pushing Italy back. But we'd like to talk about windows here in Overwatch, Mitch,
Absolutely.
where a team needs to strike when everything is in their favor. I think things are going to be in Italy's favor rolling into this next fight.
There's no doubt about it. They have the wind at their back as they approach the payload now, but they don't have much time. They spawn a long way away. This needs to be the fight that they win. Now, Australia, if Gumba can actually get an early EMP off, he can nullify this entire ultimate advantage from Italy. They won't be able to use those abilities and will probably be dead by the time they have the chance to do so. We need to see a good EMP from Gumba here, but Italy have got all they need to work with. Link's been dominant so far with his Dragon Blade. Let's see what Fighter can do with the Pulse.
Gumbo's under heavy pressure. He had to get out early on. He's not in position to drop an EMP in the way he would like to. The EMP does come out later to the fight, but Italy was able to get out of it. Still, the EMP forces them back, and yet they back out and now re-engage with the barrier. It's very nice stuff here from Italy, and they get the better of Australia in this fight.
Kiki gets stuck with a Pulse Bomb there. There's really not much coming back from that at all. Trill's done well to get 2 kills with the Primal Rage, and Inchlock's still there. There's still a chance. Link now, forced to pull the Dragon Blade. He gets completely stopped right into the corner of the room. Australia have turned this one around somehow between 2 players. Trill and Eat You Up have stood up against the storm that Italy brought. And now they are truly down to their last push, and those ultimates are gone.
They are gone, done and dusted. They are out of here, and that is insane. Italy had a huge player advantage there. It should not have gone that way, but Trill, able to do the impossible, somehow pulled that fight back, and now Italy, down to their final 20 seconds, Mitch. Do or die, they have no more extra chances, and they're running into a blender of ultimates.
Their attack fires are for Carnifex here, but it's been responded to with a sound barrier from Australia. That keeps their backline a little bit topped up as Carnifex goes very, very low himself. Self-destruct comes in, but Trill follows up. He knew Carnifex was low. He finds his prey, and he dispatches of him summarily. That's another big pulse bomb from Eat You Up. He's been doing that non-stop so far. 3 kills for him, and that's it. Italy can't get back to this one. Overtime ticks down, and will for the moment as Fighter goes for one last foray. But that's going to be all she wrote for Italy's attack here. And it's safe to say, ZP, that's not what they would have been hoping for.
Certainly not. And one thing I think is really worth noting here is that we've mentioned the name I Eat You Up a lot right now for the Australian team.
It's a great name.
No,
Lovely name.
It's beautiful in so many ways. But notice how that went down in the beginning there, where he died early on the fighter. Something like 2-3 times in a row. Italy had tons of momentum as a result. And then you got in the second, I Eat You Up, cleaned up his gameplay, started winning the tracer-on-tracer battles, and then it felt like the entire complexion of the game changed. There were other factors in that moving in, but yet you can pin a lot of this on what we've been seeing from the tracer-on-tracer setups.
No doubt about it. And it's important to point out as well that Italy had some... Well, they were not necessarily playing off-roll, as I'm quite sure that Fighter has plenty of these heroes in his wheelhouse. But because of the way the ultimates had accrued for Italy when Carnifex decided to switch off of the Widowmaker, they got rid of the Mercy as well, Carnifex opted to play the Soldier 76 instead of maybe the Tracer. Carnifex is a very aggressive player. Right? He's very, very well known for that. He loves Genji, he loves Tracer. He's exceedingly good at picking off targets and backlines, but he had to play the Soldier 76, which is a completely different approach.
A 76, you're looking for targets that have already been wounded by your flanking DPS. You're looking to lay damage in the tanks when they give you the opportunity to get that free damage. It is a different style of gameplay, and if you try to be as aggressive with a 76 as you would be a Genji or Tracer, what you're going to find is that he might be really fast at running for an old guy, Mitch, but there's certain things you can't get yourself away from. And if you're running away, you're not dealing the consistent damage that a 76 should be doing.
Yeah, we've talked about that. We saw that in King's Row as well. Atar being pressured as heavily by Link as he wasn't able to do a lot of damage. So Italy going to switch back to a defensive triple DPS dive. This is a composition that requires you to be very good at executing your dive. It means you need to really use those Discord rods from Nisa. You need to get in and get out scot-free as much as you can.
It also puts a lot of pressure here on Cheris, where he doesn't have a diva to support him here, right? Where his Winston dive can very much decide the fight one way or another. If he goes in, doesn't get support and dives immediately, that's probably the fight for Australia. So really important to see how he engages this and how the follow-up comes in.
Again, Australia looking for anything out of the ordinary here. A little bit of scouting work being done. Each up going to have to back over towards and benefit from the healing aura of RQT. He wasn't able to pick up that health pack. He'll circle around the back. He'll see if there's any squishy targets that are in vulnerable spots, and he's going to work with Trill as much as he can. Cheris is very low already here. Good damage early from Australia to lay Italy low.
Right, and as we mentioned, Cheris is the linchpin here. If he has thrown back, the divers don't have much to work with, and there you see Link get chased down by Trill. Trill does give his life up for it, but the offense of Australia is getting more damage in, they're getting better trades, and Italy is slowly falling as they get pushed back.
I can see this is almost like a flow chart that Australia have drawn here about which targets they're going for. They're going piecemeal, they're going fairly slowly here, but it's working out nicely for them. They've built up some good damage here, and Italy are a little bit staggered right now. Nisa just spawned in, Carnifex is going to spawn in a couple seconds, so now Italy, only just now do they have a full 6 to get to this point. This is going to be a desperate fight from them.
This is also a gamble. If you come in at this point and get absolutely rocked on your last-ditch defense, you're not going to have much of a prayer on second either because of what you're getting away. And look at that pulse bomb onto a Genji of all things. My My word.
Link just had to try and take to the skies and hope that none of his teammates were blowing up by their pulse bomb as well. But that's not where Genji's most effective. He needs to be up in the enemy's face, but it's Australia who are wiping the floor with Italy right now on this attack. Not much that Italy could do to get in there. And again, it was very much a last-ditch push because they were so staggered before the fight started.
And remember, Mitch, that yellow box victory, that is in second. For Australia, they don't have to push this much further. Italy must defend for almost 5 minutes here, so they have to be nearly flawless starting right now.
4 minutes and 40 seconds is the time. That is an exceedingly large amount of time. Now, Nisa's used his Transcendence here to try and start the fight for Italy. Australia can disengage on this pretty comfortably, and now they use the EMP to come back into the fight. This might have been a gross overextension by Italy here, and it's blown up in their face. They knew they had to go for something, but perhaps, just maybe, that wasn't the right time to do it.
That engage was rough. They did not have the space they needed. Meanwhile, on the other end, Atar, plenty of space to roll in the damage as the rest of his team was right in front of him. Italy now on what could be their final chance here to take a map, Mitch. 4 minutes remaining for Australia. Italy in a must-win situation for this next fight.
And they've got a pulse bomb. They need to put all their eggs in that basket. Link hopes to get a Dragon Blade, but it may not be enough time for it. Cheris also is going to be a Primal Rage coming soon. May not be quick enough though. Atar now from the high ground. It is Cheris now going ballistic with the fist in the sound barrier for both teams as Atar is thrown into the middle.
And here comes Link falling up on that sound barrier, looking for anyone into the back. IEUF though gets on the support early on, but it's Link taking down two. The Dragon Blade striking true. He's at low health, but not out of it here just yet. Not going to be able to take down Atar in that close fight, but space has been created. The question is for how long?
That's enough though. For now, that is enough. Beautiful stuff from Link there. Really able to cut most of the damage out of Australia's lineup there just with that Dragon Blade. We said he'd be hoping for it, and he got it. All they needed now in Australia have to fight the next couple of fights in a billion of flashing here. Maybe an EMP for Gumba might be what they need in this case.
Well, Australia right now, they still have plenty of time to work with here, Mitch. They are very comfortable where they're at, and the question is, how will this EMP go down? Gumba gonna be looking for some opportunity, but Card Effects taking page of IEUF's book, gets Atar down immediately, and Australia, they're just in full retreat. They know they have time to work around this and go in again with 6.
The stakes are very high. Australia can't allow Italy to get comfortable here, so they're not going to try not to feed them too much more damage, allow them to have too many more ultimates. They want to try and keep as even a playing field as possible for this next fight, so they have a real chance. Gumba didn't use his EMP after Atar got picked off in that fight. That's very important.
It's very smart. You don't want to throw good money after bad, especially when you're working with such a big time bank advantage where you only have to win one more fight. Now, they can EMP at the attack visor, and Italy, again, they're in the hot seat. They have to play perfectly. The pressure from the Australian offense in, there's the EMP.
Lovely stuff as well, and this time Nisa gets picked off straight away. His shields are stripped from him, and he only has 50 HP outside of that. This is the cleanup that Australia were looking for here. A great initiation. Atar's going to go for a long walk off a short ledge if he's not careful. He's got Winston in his face. You can see he's trying to duck and dodge here, trying to get a little bit of healing, and this is good. He's staying alive. Eventually drops down, but Cheris also is low. He takes to the skies.
He was able to get Atar now. Will needs to be able to zoom right in. It's going to be close, but you got to expect he's going to use Transcendence. Get right back on the point. There it is, out of nowhere. Diving right in. Buying time. Australia, though, they break it down. They have a dominant force on the point, and though Nisa had to throw his body in, the question is, will it be enough as Australia looking to just get these last few key kills, and down goes Bibbs.
Australia are spreading out. They're making sure they're getting healing from their supports, who are still alive so far. Now they're going to press forward here, over towards the golden box of victory. It's looking close. Australia need to get there. We're going to have a self-destruct in just a moment for Kiki if he needs to use it, but it does not matter. Australia open the door to their country, say, come on and join us here, but we're not going to let you have any easy games. And Route 66 ends as such. It's 4-0 for the home team.
Well, Mitch, they said they were really happy to be playing in front of this pumped hometown crowd, and they gave them a treat of a matchup, winning every single map in a dominant fashion here against Italy. They have shown that they might just have what it takes to go to BlizzCon later this year.
Of course, Italy, no shortage of ability on this roster, but again, it did look like that team cohesion for Australia was very strong. A couple things probably to point out that we saw earlier on. Nisa going in with that Transcendence in one of those defensive, aggressive fights, it's very telegraphed. Yes. You're going up against a team that features a Tracer, a Soldier 76, a Diva, a Lucio, a Sombra. All of these heroes have the ability to disengage. They have mobility increasing ability. So when you see a Transcendence come straight towards you, it's incredibly telegraphed that the enemy team, the defenders, want to start a fight. You can back away. We saw the EMP come in later on, and that's where Australia really started to get close to the finish line.
The thing is for the defenders that they really have a short window there. If you move in with an offensive Transcendence in terms of engaging from the defense, you have to get a kill in maybe the first 2-3 seconds, or as you mentioned, they're going to disengage. They're going to get away from you. And one thing about Australia is that they were very good on their disengage stages, Mitch, where if there was a telegraph at all, they just backed out and knew, you know what, you can use this ult. We're going to come in with an advantage, and we're going to punish you for thinking that would work.
And again, we were a little bit, I guess, dim on Gumba's use of EMPs in that round. The fact was he was struggling to get in position. I think Italy did a good job spreading from them, and you can see the Gumba was forced to extend very deeply into enemy territory to make sure he got good coverage with that ability. But once he did, in that last fight, he went all the way over to the opposite ledge, that high little ground just near the edge of the map, and he made sure he got it done. And more importantly, after the EMP came out, he picks off Nisa. Make sure that Zenyatta won't be able to give Harmony and Discord orbs alike in that fight, and Australia were able to roll out with the rest of it. So as expected, Australia looking strong as many teams thought they would.
Well, speaking of looking strong here, we had great plays here over the course of the game, but what was the play of the game? Let's take a look here, Mitch, and of course, we see Atar moving in, the tac visor up, so much room made for him by his team that it was easy.
See the assists there on the kill feed? 4 of those kills had Gumba as the assisting player. That was just after Australia saw the very telegraphed aggressive dive from Italy. They backed up on it there. We got the EMP down from Gumba, and it was on for young and old there. Atar straight with the tac visor, knew there wouldn't be any of those defensive abilities available to actually stop that damage coming through. And the rest, as they say, ZP is history. It's a strong showing from Australia here on day one, but Italy, where do you think there's, I guess, capacity to improve over the next couple of days?
So for Italy, 2 things. One is that they did come out rather strong on Assault, so I think going into the future, they have to focus on that, particularly Horizon, where they did shock Australia in the beginning. Second part would be, yes, they didn't work out quite as well as they wanted, but I thought they had flashes of hope on Control, where they were able to go back and forth a little bit with the Australian team. They just weren't able to put together for a full round.
Righto, well, that's going to finish off our first match of the day. There's still 3 more to go, and we're going to leave you with a fond look back at the series that was before we get back to the desk to break down the match